I lived in Europe for 4 months, traveled to different countries, met countless people, experienced so much that I didn't even imagine I could. And now I'm back. I was fortunate enough to receive a full scholarship abroad, covering all my tuition, all my classes at a university out in the UK. And it just gave me 4 months of time in a whole nother country and the perfect segue to be able to travel around Europe. I visited countless cities in the UK, went to Spain, France, Greece, Italy, met friends in every one of those countries. Life was just unreal. And not to mention, I created a community at the school that I was going to. I loved the staff, and I absolutely loved the friends that I met along the way. I created a life there, and just as I had quickly built what I did, it was just as quickly as I came back to what I already had. And now I'm here, and I feel, when I wrote this, which was around week 3 of me being back, which was January 20-something for sure, I felt lazy, I felt anxious, tired, unsociable, and depressed even. I kept being told I'd be different once I was back, but I just felt like a negative difference, as if I came back worse than when I left. Mind you, I wasn't feeling like this before I left. I was ecstatic to be in a whole nother country, but I think I had an expectation for what I would come back to and how I would be perceived that just led me to just disappointing myself. I had these expectations for who I was going to be once I was back and how I wanted to not only perceive myself, but be perceived. I had this need to see myself as more mature, wiser, and just having it all figured out. But this expectation did not hold up after quickly being dropped back into the world I had left. Once this realization crashed into me, I spiraled. And my lack of routine, my low social energy, and a rising feeling of codependency just made me lose myself completely. So this leads us to the million-dollar question that I kept being asked. Am I okay? And honestly, at that point, I didn't know. I didn't know if I was okay. Being back was more than just being sad that I wasn't with my friends anymore, or being sad that I wasn't living this oh-so-privileged life I used to live. I do know everything I experienced was a blessing, and I've never taken that for granted. But being back has felt like mourning, losing something, and not being able to really know what it is that I lost. Being back has felt like everyone else changed, and maybe I stayed the same. Being back has felt like walking back into my bedroom after being gone and just everything just dropping off the walls and you not knowing where you want to start or who you want to ask for help. The better question I've been asking myself is, how am I coping? Because even if I don't know if I am okay, I do know if I'm making an effort to figure it out. Once I got home, seeing my family was really satisfying. Being back in my house, truly nostalgic. But the last week in the UK, all I was thinking about was coming home, seeing them in the holidays. I was living that bittersweet transition between packing up to leave and being home with them. And because of this, I had no damage control plan in place. Thinking back on it, I did think I had a plan in place. I was journaling a type of resolution to what it was to live there. A chapter closing entry for the last couple of weeks. I was mentally preparing myself to not see my friends anymore and just not being in Europe. But what I didn't realize is that I had to actually prepare myself for how quick the change was going to occur. I was at the airport for an hour, said goodbyes that didn't really feel real, and got on a plane, slept for 8 hours, and just like that, I arrived home. The sleeping made the change so immediate that once I got home, it all felt super superficial. Once a couple of days went by, my mind began to realize that those friends I had subconsciously begun relying on were gone. The place I started to call home was never going to be again, and I created a glittery expectation for what life was going to look like once I was back that just didn't exist. I thought I was coming back to a shinier, better version of myself, and found myself feeling messy. I was disorganized. Bags were unpacked. Emails were unanswered. Text even more. Body was not at its top shape anymore. And this never-ending tiredness. I thought I'd come back with that Europe glow everyone always talks about. But I just came back looking regular. So I was feeling regular. I thought I was coming back to relationships I couldn't wait to cultivate, but came back with social anxiety to just interact with them. I can't answer calls. I can't answer texts. I just couldn't. And I kept telling myself it's because I'm not financially free or that I'm tired, but the anxiety is coming from a place I still haven't been able to identify. I had this need to cultivate the relationships that I have, but just didn't know how to. And last, I thought I was coming back to a significant other. A relationship I had to let go, and had this expectation that I would have back just as easily as arriving back on American soil. Spoiler alert, that is not what happened. And that realization manifested into a codependency to get attention from them that was just not possible at that time. This was my so-called moment of spiral that made my anxiety levels go from 1 to 100 and had me acting like an overly emotional toddler, honestly. These first weeks, I was kind of throwing a tantrum. Out of anger and hurt and unfulfillment, I was not communicating with anyone. I was sensitive to any comment. I was pleading for attention in a way I could not receive, and I was lonely. To top it off, I was not eating correctly, not drinking enough water as a subconscious punishment for I felt, because I felt guilty that I could even feel like that. I felt a complete disconnect from others. I just could not see myself having this conversation with anyone. I couldn't even reply to my international friends. I felt a sort of sting as if it truly was over if I interacted with them. And after a very bad panic attack because of the deep codependency that manifested in myself, I realized the real disconnect has not been with others, but it has been with myself. I've had months of anxiety and plenty of heavy mental lows to know I was headed into a place that only I knew how hard it was to get myself out of. I realized quickly that I had somehow forgotten myself, and I had forgotten who I was and what I knew I could provide to myself. I journaled through that disconnect, wrote through what I was feeling, validated all that pain that was manifesting from just fear and lack of attention and love that I wanted, and I had to let go. I meditated through it, I cried through it, and realized that need was coming from that inner child, and it needed that attention and love from myself. Showing that attention and love means showing up for yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. When you feel like you're slipping, you need a plan in place to save yourself. While making this video, I realized what I really wanted to bring attention to was that we need to be able to identify when we're slipping away from ourselves and have a plan in place to save ourselves. When I was really struggling through anxiety and depression, I was always in search of something or someone to save me. I thought I needed more money, more attention from others, more alcohol, more anything. And after much trial and many errors, I had enough of the cycle and committed to improving myself. After a year of committing to being better, I learned the best way to not fall so hard on the lows was being able to identify what they look like and having a type of plan in place to avoid falling so deep. Having this plan in place doesn't make the problems go away, but it prepares the body and mind to deal with them in a more efficient way. How can I address my procrastination, my social anxiety, and my financial problems if I'm not happy even with myself? That's why we must address the physical and mental before anything else. I know that when I'm heading into a low, the days begin to blur. This means life is a routine. My sleep schedule is non-existent, and I'm doing the bare minimum to just get through the day. This usually begins to trigger anxiety, and I go days with tension and just an overactive mind. These are my personal signs that my subconscious feels unsafe, but I'm unaware of the disassociation associations so much that my mind warns me in the most extreme way possible. The subconscious is most afraid when there is no stability. Lack of stability is lack of routine. So that's where I start. This means reestablishing a routine. Something as simple as waking up at the same time every day, washing my face, a light meditation, and even sitting with a cup of tea for 10 minutes. All of that can soothe the mind in a way you would have never thought. If you find yourself with racing thoughts in the morning, journal whatever thoughts come to mind for 5 minutes and watch how quiet your mind becomes. Start simple. Don't pressure yourself to work out for an hour or heavily meditate. Those things come with time. What's important is doing 2 to 3 things every morning that shows your mind it's okay and that it's safe. Personally, meditating and working out are my personal favorite ways to ground myself. After a week of this, drinking water consistently and getting at least 2 good meals a day, I feel such a big difference in my internal safety and the weight of my mind. Working on the physical first will always lead the mind to a better place. After creating the mental safety, I try to do things that I love and find comfort in. The key is to do activities and hobbies to reconnect you with you. There have been instances where I feel guilt for trying to enjoy something because I've gone so long without doing all the things I think I should be doing. But this is when you need to give yourself grace. It's hard finding the motivation to do all the things we need to do, so reward yourself for the little things. Whatever it is that brings you simple joys, do it. And if you feel like you don't have hobbies, try something new. This is an opportunity to know yourself better. Consistency deserves reward and will make you more determined to continue. Concentrate on all you can do. You open your eyes every day, you get to eat and to talk to the people around you. Be grateful for all those little things. Everything you need to support you is already there. You just need to look. Everything you need to heal is already within you. And really listen to your body. All these things that we deem as bad, like anxiety and depression, are just ways the mind tries to communicate its needs. Just like your stomach rumbling tells you when it's time to eat, your anxiety is telling you it's time for improvement. Sorry for the location change. Turns out I had moved and the camera was like on my chest the whole time. So we're back inside now. But above all, you need to consistently remind yourself of all you've achieved, that rest is not a bad thing, and to always come back to yourself. It was so easy for me to concentrate on all I wasn't doing, all I didn't do, all I felt I wasn't anymore, and it completely filled my vision and made it so much more difficult to get out of the low. But after clearing my mind and stabilizing my internal, I was able to clear that fog and start cherishing all that I did achieve. I solo traveled 5 countries and met countless people that gave me a deeper understanding of what traveling truly means. I studied with professors from all over the US and the UK, giving me an opportunity at a different education compared to what I was getting here at home. I deepened the trust within myself. I knew I always wanted to take time to travel outside of the US, but I felt like I was always making the wrong decision. But saying yes to this desire made me feel better about my decisions and solidified my love for culture and just the world. It's also important to remind yourself that rest is not a bad thing. In fact, we deserve as much of it as possible. I do believe in working hard and pushing through limits, but I also know that there is a time and a place for it. Once I came back from the UK, my social battery was drained, and I didn't want to acknowledge it. I was skipping out on all activities with my friends and stayed home for basically 4 months. I felt extremely guilty about it the first 2 months, but after stabilizing myself, I knew that I needed this more than I thought. We cannot guilt ourselves for wanting to recharge. I knew I wanted to spend time with my family and friends once the weather was warmer anyways, so I decided I was in hibernation mode till further notice. And I'm so grateful I did, because now it's summer and I'm taking advantage of every moment I can be outside and just work on the things that I love. Most of all, we need to remind ourselves to always come back to ourselves. Although I've dug myself out of countless lows for the past 4 years, I feel like this low really taught me to not play with my mental stability. Overindulging in vices and disassociating through my days is not the way to do it. Routine, consistency, hobbies, and just giving myself grace have been the remedy to a lot of my problems. And I promise it could be for you as well. Resolving a problem is not the goal of these, but just a way to clear your mind and give you a better handle. Problems are sometimes blown out of proportion when you can't see them clearly. Clear the fog in your mind and deal with them then. And last, just remind yourself who you want to be after this. When I was getting out of this low, I reminded myself of the confident, chill, level-headed woman I knew that I was. I believe that we're always working towards our higher self or just a better version of ourselves every day. So that's who I thought of. If it's hard to envision who you want to be after this, think of who you're actually taking care of every day. All the deep emotions and feelings you feel are not truly yours, they're actually that inner child's. They deserve better treatment than whatever you're giving them. So use that as a motivation to keep moving forward. Every time I get myself out of a low, I solidify the love and trust I have with myself, and this makes embodying who I truly am a lot easier. Although this video started as a recap to just my internal instability after my semester abroad, I feel like it was more about how common and how human it is to hit a low. One thing I've learned while working on my mental health is that this is something learned through experience and a lot of trial and error. Your goal should never be to never hit a low. That's impossible and probably unhealthy. We need lows to learn how we've changed and evolved as people. But your goal should be to have a structure that caters specifically to your needs, so it becomes easier to bounce back. Take time to get to know yourself and know what it is that your body and mind needs at that moment. This means making space for yourself. Relying on others when you need help is one thing, but relying on others to fill the spaces you feel within you is not the way to heal. Go back to old hobbies, start new ones, journal and reflect on the things that are going through your mind and where it might have come from. Making space for you means being present with all you are and how you feel. Remember all you have done as well. Don't let your mind obsess over all you haven't been able to get to. All you'll do is dig yourself deeper into it. Breathe through those thoughts, be present, and remind yourself that you deserve happiness and rest just because you exist. Although it's been more than 7 months since I came back, I feel like I just recently got out of that headspace. Although I don't enjoy being in a low, I can acknowledge how fulfilling it is to get through them. I know myself better, and I've deepened a lot of connections through this deeper understanding I gained about myself. Quality of life will always improve along with quality of self. I appreciate and I'm grateful for all my experiences abroad, everyone I met and who I got to become because of it, and I hope my experiences and my technique resonate with you. Let me know what you think and if there's any routines you have that help you